So in our last session we discussed about how to create customized rule set, customize risk, customize function. Okay, we created two functions, Z function 1 and Z function 2, and we maintained actions and permissions in these two functions, and we define the combination of these two functions is a risk. It is basis risk. Okay, and we also created two users in the source system, test1. Okay, and we created two roles, that is Z role 1 and 0. So in Z role 1 we maintain SU0 and PFCG actions, and in Z role 2 we just maintain only SM36, for which there is no risk. Okay, then we synchronize these users and roles into the GRC system. Okay, now let's log into the GRC system. Okay, 140 is our GRC system and 130 is our source system. 140. So my keyboard is not working. Just hold for a moment. Now my keyboard is not working. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll restart my system. Okay. Okay. I'll be back in 2 minutes, please. Let's log into NWDC. Access management. Okay. So what we did in our last session, we created few functions, risk and rule set, and we also generated risk. Okay, without generating risk, you cannot perform risk analysis. And then we created users and roles. Then we synchronize these users and roles into the GRC system. Now we'll perform risk analysis to these users and roles. User level. Risk analysis at user level. Okay, now let's select the system. System is GRC CLNT 130. Then user. I can also perform risk analysis for master users. If I define star, then the risk analysis will be performed to all the users. Now let's select few users, that is test user. Okay, we don't have any user group and custom group. Risk level, I want to find all risk levels. Which rule set you want to apply? I want to apply demo rule set which we have created. Okay, always select technical view. In remediation view, it will show you only the remediation, so better you select technical view. Okay, now risk analysis at action level and information level. I am going to select these two options. We also discuss about the other options. So we have two options to perform risk analysis: run in foreground, run in background. Now I am going to perform risk analysis in foreground. So we have a risk for this user. Test user has risk, that is BAS risk. The rule ID is 0001, which is common for all the risk. Okay, if you don't define any rule ID. Then risk level is high for this user. Okay, and this risk exists for this user in this source system, that is GRC CLNP130. And due to the combination of SU01 and PFCG actions, this user has this risk. Understood? Okay? Okay. And now, this is what risk analysis at action level, and we have few formats. We'll see all these formats. This is what summary. Now, detailed format. In detailed format, you can also find by which role this user has risk. Understood? That is 0 on 1 and 0 on 1. You may also get the risk by two different roles. Got it? For example, if you have SU01 in 0 on 1 and SU02, sorry, PFCG in 0 on 2, then user will also get risk, because the combination of SU01 and PFCG for the user is a risk, right? User may get these two transaction codes from one role, or he may also get these two transaction codes from different roles. Not only two transaction codes, you can also define risk with the combination of number of transaction codes. Understood? Okay? Okay. So this is what detailed format in which you can also find by which role you are getting the risk. Then detail, then management summary. In management summary, what you get, you will get only user ID and the risk which this user has. Then executive summary, in which you will get number of conflict. There is one conflict. It means just use your own in PFCG. If you remove one of the conflict, then there is no risk. Okay. So this is what risk analysis at action level. Now let's see risk analysis at permission level. What we have defined in the permission level? We have defined for SU01 transaction code, we have defined yes underscore is underscore PRO, and the values for this authorization object is 22, activity is 22, and profile is star. So the users who have this 22 activity and star value underscore is underscore PRO, they'll get risk at permission level. Okay, and we also have yes underscore user underscore AGR authorization object, and for this authorization object we maintain two values, 0, 2 and star, and we also maintain these values in this role. So obviously this user should have risk at permission level. Okay, now let's see that. Select permission level and then select detailed report, detailed format. Okay, yes, user has risk at permission level as well. Test user, okay, test user, BAS risk level is high. Function 1, function 1, function 2, function 2, function 2. Okay, let's see what we have here at permission level. So the first one, it is showing as yes underscore T code. We know about yes underscore T code authorization object. So whatever the transaction code we maintain in PFCG transaction, PFCG role, okay. So those transaction codes will be maintained in yes underscore T code authorization object, which is a common authorization object for all the roles in which you are maintaining transaction codes. You can also create roles without maintaining transaction codes. It means you can maintain just authorization objects, or you can maintain ABAP reports, you can maintain BA objects. Understood? Okay, that is all about SAP Security. So this authorization object has SU01 transaction code in 0 and 1, the function of Z function 1, and we have again yes underscore T code. So by default it is showing risk at permission level. So yes underscore T code, yes underscore T code, because you are getting these two transaction codes by these authorization objects. Okay, okay. Resource. This is what resource for the risk. Then yes underscore user underscore PRO. And this authorization object is available in SU01 transaction code. Okay, and the user has the activity 22. So the user who gets the activity 22, okay, he will get risk at permission level that we have defined in these functions, right? Okay. Then S_T code. So by this S_T code authorization object, permission is nothing but authorization object. So by this S_T code, you are getting PFCG transaction code. Okay. Okay. Then S_AGR. And here in S_AGR we have defined 02 and star value. So you have the permission of S_AGR in which you have 02 activity and star activity. Star activity group. Activity group is nothing but role. So this is what? Risk at permission level. Got it? Any confusions here? Any doubts? Saif Munir, Sure Vidyanand, Lavanya, any doubts?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, please.
Yeah, is this report is for ourselves or we need to send anyone?
Sorry?
Is this report is for ourselves or as a security consultant?
No, we need to send this report to the functional manager, functional department. Anyhow, what we have done here, we have created risk for only basis transaction codes. Okay, when you create the risk for functions and whenever you perform risk analysis, we need to send this report to the functional department. So based on this report, they need to decide what they have to do. That also we'll discuss. So whenever we get a risk, what we need to do, that we'll discuss. We have two options. The first one is remediation and the second one is mitigation. If they are okay with this risk, then we can continue. We don't need to do anything. Okay. If they are okay with this risk, what we need to do, we need to mitigate. Mitigate is what? Allowing the risk to the user is called as mitigation. That we'll discuss. Okay. So no doubts here. Okay. This is what risk analysis at action level and permission level. And now let's close this. You can also export this report. Okay, you can also export this report. Export to Microsoft Excel. Okay, click on OK. Now I am going to perform risk analysis in background. Okay, simple option. So now I am going to perform risk analysis in background. So we need to provide this background job, that is risk analysis report. Okay. Schedule activity, perform background risk analysis, recurring plan. Okay. Recurring plan is nothing but periodic job. For example, if I select it as yes, when you want to do it, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. Okay. Okay. I don't want to perform it as a recurring plan. Start immediately. I'm going to start it immediately. Click on OK. So the risk analysis is successfully performed in background. Now where I can find this background report? Where I can find this risk analysis performed in background? Where I can find this report? Where we have that option. Okay. So I don't close this screen. Let's go to Access Management Work Center. We are in the Access Management Work Center, and then we have scheduling. Here you can find the background job reports. Okay, we have one report, that is risk analysis report. Perform background risk analysis, one time schedule. This is the date and time, and performed by this user. Start time, end time. Job status is completed. Select this one and then view results. You will get the same report. Whatever the report you are getting in foreground, the same report you have in the background, but you are performing it in background, which will be performed by the background work process. What is the use of performing this report in background? If you are performing mass user risk analysis, for example, I am going to perform risk analysis for 100 users, which may take a lot of time. In that scenario, we can perform risk analysis in background, and that background report is available here. Okay, so this is what action level. Okay, and format is summary. I want to see the detailed report, action level and permission level, so select the type permission level and then detailed report. But if you have the detailed report. Clear about risk analysis, perform in background. Okay. So this way you can perform risk analysis in background, and you can find the report here in this scheduling link. Okay. Now the next one is what we have done as of now. We have performed risk analysis at user level. Now we'll perform risk analysis at role level. Before that, we also have one more user, that is test 1, which has one role, that is Z role 2, and this role has SM36 transaction code. We'll see what happens if we perform risk analysis for this user. System GRC 130, user test 1. Okay, no group, no custom group. I am selecting risk level all, and then I am going to apply demo rule set for this risk analysis. And then select technical view, action level and permission level, run in foreground. Okay. So there is no risk for this user. Why we don't have any risk for this user? Can you tell me? Why we don't have any risk for this user? Yes. So we haven't defined any risk with this SM36 transaction code. So we did not define any risk with this SM36 transaction code. So there is no risk for this user. Got it? And Saif, what's your question? What is rule set? What is rule set? Rule set, we discuss about rule set, right? Rule set is a container which contains all the objects of the risk. That is risk, business, functions, business process and everything, right? And we define this risk under the demo rule set. That's what we are applying. We are selecting demo rule set. If I select global rule set, we'll see what happens. I don't know what is maintained in this global rule set. Let's perform risk analysis. There is no risk. Right, let's perform risk analysis for test user. When we perform risk analysis for the test user, we had a risk. Okay, there is a risk with this demo rule set. Now I am going to perform risk analysis with global rule set. Let's see what happens. No risk, because in global rule set, the combination of SU01 and PFCG transaction code are not defined as a risk. In demo rule set, we have defined it as a risk. That is the difference between these rule sets. Understood? Okay? Okay. So when we perform risk analysis for user test 1, okay, there is no risk, because this user has only one transaction code, that is SM36, and there is no risk defined for this SM36 transaction code. You can also define risk for one transaction code as well. That we'll see how we can define. Okay. So this is what all about risk analysis at user level. Now we'll perform risk analysis at role level. Okay, let me close this screen. We'll see what happens. We are getting one error. Okay, this is the error we are getting. So better keep one screen open and use this NWBC. I need to troubleshoot this issue. Okay, NWBC.
Shahid,
Yes, please.
Shahid, do we follow the global rule set in real time while working in
No,
the
we don't follow the global rule set. If you want to follow the global rule set, what you need to do is you need to copy all the risk of the global rule set and you need to customize it. You need to change the name by adding Z later and then you can use it. Understand? Global rule set is what? It is defined and delivered by SAP. So we have our own requirement, right? We have our own requirement. For example, in my security team, for example, I have only 2 guys, myself and I have one more guy. Okay, so he is taking care of SU0 and PFCG. So how we can say that the combination of SU0 and PFCG is a risk? So as per my organization, it is not a risk. So I don't define that as a risk. But in global rule set, it might be defined as a risk. For example, finance department, you have 3 or 4 employees. Generally, you won't be having 3 or 4 employees. You'll have more than that. But if you take that example, if you have 2 employees in finance department, so they need to share the workload. Half of the work will be shared, right? So how you can say, how we can follow the global rules? Even what we have in securities, in SAP system, we have standard rules. Do we use standard rules? We don't use standard rules. We use few standard rules. I cannot say we don't use any standard rules. For GRC system, we use standard rules as we are using standard rules. But anyhow, we don't directly use these standard rules. We need to copy standard rules to the customized role. That is the first one. And the second one is that too for only few applications, that is like GRC, solution manager. For solution manager also we don't create separate roles. We use the standard roles delivered by SAP. For technical systems, I'm talking about technical systems. For technical systems, we generally use standard roles, but again we don't use those standard roles directly. We copy those standard roles to the customized roles. Got it, Lavanya?
Yes.
Okay? Okay. So now the next one is, we have performed risk analysis at user level. Okay? Okay. Now I'm going to perform risk analysis at role level. Okay? Risk analysis at role level. Right? We have seen user level. We'll also discuss about simulation in detail. Now I'm going to perform risk analysis at role level. Let's see what happens. System GRC CLNP 130 role. What role we have created? Z role 1. Z colon role 1. Okay. Yes, we have one role, Z role 1. Okay. So do you want to define the business process? For example, I may not know the business process that this role is defined. Understood? Okay, I don't use this field. Then risk level. What risk level you want to find? All risk levels. Okay. Okay. Let's perform action level and permission level running foreground. So you have a risk, the same risk you have. This role, Z role 1, has one risk, that is BAS risk, and this risk has rule ID, that is 0001, it is common, and the risk level is high, and due to the combination of SU0 and PFCG transaction code, this role has a risk. Got it? This is what action level summary. So whatever we have seen for user, the same risk you can find here for role. Okay, let's see the detailed report. You will get Okay, Z role 1. This is what role. So you have transaction codes. With the combination of SU0 and PFCG, you have this BAS. Let's see the detailed permission level. You'll get the same report, whatever the report you have for user, because user is also getting the same risk with the same actions and permissions. So you have the same report here. There is no change in the report. Okay? Okay. Then, this is what risk analysis at role level. Okay? Okay. Now, let's perform risk analysis for one more role, that is Z role 2. Okay? Z role 2. Now we'll see what happens. No risk for this role. Yes, there is no risk for this role because we did not define any risk with this SM36 action. Okay, so this is what risk analysis at role level. Now let's close this. If I close this screen and if I move to some other function, we'll get the error again. So better you keep one screen open and perform all this. I'll find the solution for this error. Okay. Okay. So I don't close this. Let it be open. Now let's perform risk analysis for users again. Now I'm going to perform risk analysis for mass users. Okay. Star. So there is no user group, no custom group, risk level all. We have hardly 4 users in the source system. Test 1, hash, RFC. These are the 4 users exist in the source system. Let's see. Hash, RFC, test 1. So now risk analysis is going to be performed for all these 4 users. Now, rule set, demo rule set. Okay. Okay. Action level and permission level. Now I am going to perform risk analysis in 4 rounds. As we have only 4 users, so it does not take much time. If you have 100 or 200 users or 500 users, better you perform risk analysis in that round. But it's taking this much time. Okay, so there might be some problem. Okay, we need to select technical view. Okay, running 4 rounds. So now we'll get a report. Now there is a risk for all. There is a risk for 3 users, not 4 users. Test 1 user does not have any risk because this user has only one transaction code, that is SM36. Okay. Okay. So we have risk for hash user, risk for RFC user, and risk for test user. Can you tell me why these 2 users has risk? We know about this user because we have assigned one role in which this user has SU0 and PFCG transaction code. But we did not assign any roles to these 2 users. Okay. Then why there is a risk for these 2 users? Can you tell me why we have risk for these 2 users? How they have got that SU0 and PFCG? I have assigned role to this user in which this user has SU0 and PFCG transaction code, but these 2 users does not have any roles, but still they are getting this. Can you tell me why? I have assigned SAP underscore all simple. By SAP underscore all, these two users are getting S01 and PFCG transaction code. You can find that information by this detailed format. Got it? SAP underscore all, SAP underscore all. And this user has a risk because of this Z role 1. And these two users has SAP underscore all profile, and by that profile they are getting S20 and PFCG transaction code. Got it? Clear about this? So no confusions here. Okay. So this is what risk analysis used at user level. Risk analysis for mass users. Okay. Now I can also perform risk analysis for mass roles. Okay. So let this be open. But we have more than 1,000 roles, so it may take time. I'll show you how many roles we have. We have 1,000 plus roles, 1,654 roles. Okay. So it's not showing the list, big list, but we have 1,654 roles. Okay. Now I'm going to perform risk analysis for all these 1,654 roles. I don't want to define any business process, technical view, action level and permission level. Let's perform it in foreground. If you perform it in foreground, it takes a lot of time. So better we perform it in background. Okay. Start immediately. Okay, it's done now. Risk analysis is successfully performed. Let's see the status here. We are in Access Management Work Center. Go to background jobs. Here we can find that report. It is finished. Okay, it is successfully finished. Let's see the result. No risk. Why there is no risk? We should put risk at least for one role which we have created, right? Okay, let's perform risk analysis in foreground. Okay, technical role, that is okay. Okay, technical role. We'll also discuss about what is business role. Summary, technical view, action level, permission level. It means it's not taking star value. So we have some support map issues here. It should have shown all these 1,654 rows. It's not showing. Okay, okay. Now I can see. Okay, these are the roles we have. Can I select? No. Just hold for a moment, let's see. No, I cannot select. I cannot use control button. Select multiple roles. These are the two roles which we have created, and rest of the roles are delivered by SAP standard roles. Let's see why we are not able to get risk. Any idea? Technical roles, yes, these are the technical roles. System is GRC CLNG 300. Okay, we need to select this as all. Okay, I have selected as all because it should provide, it should show at least risk for one role which we have created. Coming to other roles, we don't know about other roles, right? Okay, so we selected. By default, it is selected as critical. You can also change this in configuration parameter. Okay, now we must get a risk for at least one role. Coming to other roles, we are not sure about the other roles. Got it. This role has a risk. And coming to other roles, we have two other roles which also has risk. And these two roles has yes user on PHCG, yes user on PHCG. Got it. Clear about this? Mass risk analysis for roles. Clear? Any doubts here? Okay. So this is what risk analysis at role level. Okay. Now the next one is risk analysis at profile. This is what profile. Select system, GRC CLNT. So what is the profile? We know about profile. Each and every role has one profile generated by default. Okay. Whenever we create a role, we must assign one profile to a role. Okay. That profile we need to define it here. But I am not sure about the profile name. Let's go to the source system, which is our 130. Okay. PFCG Z role 1. So Z role 1 has a risk. Now we need to select the profile of this Z role 1. Okay. Display, and this is the profile. Okay. So I have selected profile, and now paste it here. No business process, access risk ID. No, because we are not sure about what risk this profile will get. Okay, better you remove this, and I want to find all risk levels for this profile. So we should get the same risk now, whatever the risk we have got for user and role, because all are same. Got it. The profile, that is this profile, belongs to Z role 1, and this profile has yes user on and PFCG transaction code, and due to the combination of these two actions, this profile has a risk. Got it. Let's perform risk analysis for mass profiles. Okay, star. So now risk analysis is going to be performed for all these profiles. So we should get risk for 3 profiles now. As per the risk, okay, more than 3 profiles. So we have risk for all these profiles. Got it. So it means these profiles has yes user and PFCG. Okay, let's see the detailed report. So we'll get some better information. Okay. So these profiles, SAP all, obviously SAP all will have yes user and PFCG, and then we also have yes A dot system, which will also have yes user and PFCG. Okay. This, hope you know about this profile, right? This is given to the administrators. Okay. This profile is given to the administrators, not SAP underscore all. If you provide SAP underscore all to the user, user will have administration transaction codes and the functional transaction codes as well. So better you always provide S underscore a dot system profile for the system administrators or for the basis guys. Okay. So this is the risk for the profiles. Got it? Clear about this? And let's see where is our role, that is G colon role 1. Okay, it is not showing the role name, it is showing the profile name. Okay, so this is what risk analysis at profile level. Clear about all these? And the last option we have is risk analysis at HR objects, and we don't have HR system to perform risk analysis for HR objects, so we'll leave this. Okay. Okay. Risk user level invalid mitigation. We'll also discuss about this mitigation. Okay. So now this is what all about risk analysis. We discuss about risk analysis at user level, role level, and profile level. So we don't have HR system. We are not going to perform risk analysis at HR objects. Let's see the screen what we get here. So these are the objects we generally assign to the users indirectly in HR security. Understood? We generally assign these objects, sorry, it's not indirectly, we assign these objects to the users directly, and we assign authorizations to these objects so that the user will get authorizations indirectly. Understood? Position, HR authorizations are assigned to positions, jobs. Okay, so if we assign any authorization, that authorization generally won't be assigned to the users directly. Okay, this is what all about HR security. We are not discussing about HR security here. So these are the HR objects for which you can perform risk analysis. Okay, okay. So let's go back to user level, risk analysis at user level. Now I'm going to select test user which has a risk, and we'll see what we can do if we have a risk. Then rule set, demo rule set, action level, select technical view, perform risk analysis. Now this user has a risk. So what we need to do if we have a risk for the user, our role, our profile. What we have to do after we get a risk for user, our role, or profile. We have two options whenever we get a risk for the user, role, or profile. We have two options. The first one is remediation. Okay, remediation. And the second one is mitigation. Okay, so we'll discuss about what is remediation and mitigation. Let's have a break for 10 minutes, then we'll continue our session. Okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes, please. Thank you. Existing roles. Okay, we are performing risk analysis for the existing roles, and whenever you create a new role, okay, so that anyhow we are going to discuss in BRM component. So you need to perform risk analysis for all the existing roles, and whatever the report you get, that you need to send it to the functional department. So based on their requirement, based on their suggestions, we need to make changes, whether to remove the conflict from the role or whether to remove only that conflict, that risk from the user. They have to decide. Okay, that again we'll discuss in detail in BRM component, business role management. Okay, Raghu.
Yeah.
Okay. So now When we perform risk analysis, we have a risk for this user. What to do now? Now we need to send this report to the business people. So based on their requirement, they may suggest you to go for remediation or mitigation. Remediation is what? Remediation is nothing but removing the risk from the user or role or profile is called as remediation. Removing the risk is what? How you are getting this risk? You have two transaction codes, yes user and NPFCG. If you remove one of these two transaction codes, then the risk will be remediated, right? So that is what remediation. The second option we have is mitigation. Mitigation is what? No, as per our requirement, as per our organization requirement, we allow this risk to the user. Then we have to mitigate. Mitigation is nothing but allowing the risk to the user or role or profile is called as mitigation. Got it? Remediation or remove the risk. Mitigation, allow the risk. That is mitigation and remediation. So what is remediation? There is no automated remediation process. Okay. So what we need to do is for remediation, we need to perform simulation. Based on the simulation report, we have to remediate. How we have to do that? That we'll discuss after we discuss about mitigation. First we'll discuss about mitigation. Okay. So now we'll discuss about mitigation process. How we can allow the risk to the user, our role, our profile. That we'll discuss now. Mitigation. Okay. Mitigation process. Mitigation process is what? How we can allow the risk to the user, our role, our profile is called as mitigation, and what we have to do that we'll see now. Okay. Okay. So the first step is we need to create ORG unit. What is this ORG unit? I'll explain. Okay. Then we need to create mitigation. We need to create two user IDs. That is mitigation owner and mitigation controller. Mitigation controller. Then we need to maintain these user IDs in access control owners list. But we have discussed in our last session, all the owners are monitors or controllers. They must be maintaining access control owner list or access control owner table. Okay. After we maintain these users, then we need to maintain these users in organization unit. Any of this organization unit, generally we don't create it, but as it is a fresh system, we need to create it. Okay. So maintain these users in ORG unit. Maintain data in organization units. Okay. Then create mitigation ID. Okay. Okay. Creating mitigation ID. Then assign mitigation control. Okay. So now assign mitigation ID to users, our roles, our profiles. Okay, this is the process. We'll see this process now. First we need to create ORG unit. Then we need to create two user IDs. Okay, one is mitigation owner and the second one is mitigation monitor or controller. Then maintain this data in ORG unit. Then create mitigation ID. Then assign mitigation ID to user, role and profile. Then we'll perform risk analysis and we'll see what happens. Okay. So now let's go to the system. How we are going to create ORG unit. This is our 140 system. SPRO, SAP reference IMG, GRC, access control, and then okay. So common component settings, general settings. Let me check where exactly it is available. Okay, yes, it is available in shared master data settings. Okay, and this is creating organization unit is the responsibility of the HR guys. Okay, so now I am going to create root hierarchy. Okay, select standard, and now I am creating organization unit. ABC ORG unit I am creating now, and then ABC child ORG unit. Execute so that the organization unit will be created, and this is the responsibility of the HR guys. Now the organization unit is successfully created. One is ABC ORG unit. Under this we have one child ORG unit, that is ABC child ORG unit. And whatever the data here you maintain, shared master data settings. Okay. Under this, whatever the node you maintain, whatever the activity you perform, this is shared by access control, process control, and risk management. Understood? This ORG unit is shared by access control, process control, and risk management. Okay. So we have created ORG unit successfully. Okay. And then we need to create two user IDs, mitigation owner and mitigation monitor. SU01 MIT owner, mitigation control owner, MIT owner. Okay. Okay. Then now we have to assign role of the mitigation owner. Okay, let's see where is this role. Control approval. It is not mitigation owner. Yes, approver and monitor, right? It's not owner. Okay. So we need to create owner. I'm not using. I'm using mitigation approver. MIT approver. Okay. MIT approver. MIT approver, mitigation approver, and mitigation controller. MIT approver, GLO123, GLO123, and then we need to assign mitigation approver. I'll explain the purpose of this approver and monitor. Okay. Now I'm going to assign this mitigation approver role. Okay. And we should also assign three common roles to all the users, that is base role, end user role, and NWDC role. Save this. The role user is successfully created. So we created mitigation approver, and now I'm going to maintain mitigation monitor. Okay. MIT monitor. Now let's assign mitigation monitor role to this user. Don't use these standard roles. Copy these standard roles to the customized roles. Mitigation monitor. Mitigation control ID. It is called mitigation control. Okay. So mitigation control monitor. And then I'm assigning base role, end user role, and NWBC role. Save this. So after we create user IDs, create mitigation approver and mitigation monitor user IDs. Okay. Then maintain these users in access control owners. Okay. Now let's go to NWBC. This is NWBC. Go to setup work center. For all the owners, role owner, mitigation controller, mitigation monitor, risk owner, okay, approver, all these users needs to be maintained in access control owners list. But still I have a confusion here. So I'm not sure whether it is approver or owner. Let's see, so that the doubt will be clear here. So we are in setup work center, access control owners. Okay, create. Then what user ID we created? Mitigation approver. Let's see. So whether it is approver or yes, it should be approver. Yes, it is approver. Okay, mitigation approver. So I have assigned the owner type as mitigation approver for this user ID. Then only this user can be used as mitigation approver. Save. And now I need to maintain mitigation owner in this access control owners list. Okay, mitigation monitor. This is mitigation monitor owner type. I am assigning this mitigation monitor, mitigation monitor owner. Mitigation monitors are assigned to control to monitor activity and may receive control monitor alerts. We'll discuss this. I'll explain about this. Okay. So what we have done, we created one organization unit, that is ABC ORG unit, and then we create two user IDs, mitigation approver and mitigation monitor, and then we maintain these two users in access control owners list. Okay. Now we need to maintain the data in maintain the data in organization unit. Okay. Let's go to NWBC. Okay, we are in NWBC. Now we have organizations here. Maintain the company's organization structure for compliance and risk management with related assignments. So who creates the ORG unit? The functional guys generally create this ORG unit. Organizations, we have one organization, that is ABC ORG unit. Under this organization, you also have one child ORG unit. So I am selecting ABC ORG unit, and this organization unit is shared by access control, process control, and risk management. And coming to access control, we just need to maintain the owners. Okay, add row. Approver, add row, and now I'm going to maintain monitor. Okay, so these are the two users we need to maintain under owners tab. Save this. It is successfully saved. Okay, we maintain the data in ORG unit, and now the next step is create mitigation control ID. Okay. Now we are going to create mitigation control ID. We are in setup work center, and then we have mitigation controls here. Mitigation controls. Okay, now I am going to create mitigation control ID, create. Okay, okay. So control ID, mitigation control ID, you can provide any name for basis risk. Okay, MIT mitigation control ID for basis risk. Okay, for basis risk. For basis risk. Okay, description. MIT for basis risk. Okay, mitigation for basis risk. Then under which organization unit you are defining this mitigation control ID, that is ABC ORG unit, in which we have maintained two user IDs. Okay, okay. For which business process you are creating this mitigation control ID? I don't want to define it because I can use this control ID for multiple business processes. Okay, okay. Then the next step is access risk. Okay, this is a very important tab. Let's go to risk analysis which we have performed. This is the risk analysis we have performed for this user, test user. And we have a risk for this test user, that is basis risk. Now, here it is asking you for which access risk you are creating this mitigation control ID. Okay, add row, we have number of access risks. Okay, these are the access risks available, and our access risk is, let's see that here, BAS risk. Okay, BAS star. Okay, this is the risk for which we are creating mitigation control ID. Got it? This is the mitigation control ID we are creating for this risk. And one control ID can also be created, can also be maintained for multiple risks. If you want to add, you can add it. Just add row and define that risk for which you are creating this mitigation control ID. Okay, I'm creating only for one risk, so I'm removing these fields. Got it? Then owners. Add row. Okay, we maintain two owners in ORG unit that we have defined here. Okay, in the first step. Okay, so we'll get only two user IDs here now, that is MIT approver. Add one more row, and then we'll get MIT monitor. Okay, now you need to define the assignment type. So we have one user, that is mitigation approver, and what is the purpose of this user? Approver. I am going to assign the role of the approver to this user ID. Okay, then we have mitigation monitor. The assignment type I am going to define as monitor. Got it? Okay, and one user can also be used as mitigation approver and mitigation monitor. For that you need to assign mitigation approver and monitor role to one user. Got it? Okay, or you can maintain separate user IDs. One is for approver and one is as monitor. Okay, okay. So I maintain two user IDs, mitigation approver and mitigation monitor. This user ID is going to be used as approver and this is going to be used as monitor. So I don't need to maintain any reports and attachment links. If you want to maintain any attachments, you can maintain. Okay, no reports need to be maintained. So what we have done here in this general tab, we define the control ID and we have defined the organization unit, and here in risk, for which risk we are creating this mitigation control ID, basis risk, and one mitigation control ID can also be used for number of risks. And this is the list of owners for this mitigation control ID, that is mitigation approver and mitigation monitor. Save now. Okay. So we have successfully saved mitigation control ID, that is control for basis. Okay, let's close this. Okay. Now the next step is we have created mitigation control ID. Now we need to assign mitigation control ID to users, roles or profiles. Okay. Now we are in setup work center. Let's go to access management work center, and from here we can assign mitigation control ID to the users. Mitigated users, okay, assign, okay. Now for which access risk you are mitigating, it is asking you to define for which access risk you are mitigating. So we have number of access risks, but when we perform risk analysis for this user has BAS risk, and we also created one mitigation control ID for this BAS risk. Okay, let's select that risk, BAS star. Okay, I'm going to select now. Once I select this BAS risk, the control ID, monitor and approver will be automatically selected. Understood? Because this risk has only one mitigation control ID. Okay. Sorry, we need to select that. Anyhow, we have only one control ID for this BAS risk, that is YAMI control for basis, which we have created. So once I select this mitigation control ID, the monitor and approver will be automatically selected, as we have maintained monitor and approver for this control ID. Select this, that mitigation monitor and mitigation approver. Okay. And by default, this risk is going to be mitigated in all the source systems. Understood? By default, this risk is going to be mitigated by this mitigation control ID in all the systems. I don't want to mitigate this risk in all the systems, then remove it and add your system in which you are going to mitigate. Anyhow, we have only one system. Okay. Now, this is the validity of the mitigation. By default, it is 1 year validity. So I don't want to assign 1 year validity. Okay, let's assign only for 1 month. Okay, so now this risk will be mitigated for 30 days and the status is by default active. The next one is users. Which users you want to mitigate now? So what we have done here, we have performed risk analysis here for this test user, and this user has BAS risk. Okay. So now I am going to select the user ID for which I am going to mitigate now. We have 4 user IDs. I am selecting only one user ID. I can also select all the users. Understood? If I select all the users, what happens? If I select all the users, what happens? Okay, so I selected all the users, hash RFC130 test and test1. All these 4 users will be mitigated only for this risk If they have other risk, it will not be mitigated. Only this risk will be mitigated for all these 4 users. But I don't want to mitigate all these 4 users. Let's see which user has a risk. Yes, test user has a risk. You can also find that information here. Yes, test user has a risk. Now I am going to mitigate only test user. I don't want to mitigate all the users, but you can also mitigate all the users for a particular risk. And now this user is going to be mitigated only for this risk. If this user has other risks, that will not be mitigated. Okay. Now save. Now you can ask me, what is the purpose of this approver? If you have configured MSMP workflow, you will not get this save button, you will get submit button. Understood? Once you submit this request of the mitigation to this user, this request needs to be approved by this MIT approver. I'll also show you how to configure MSMP workflow for this mitigation process. Okay, we'll discuss about MSMP workflow later. So we have save button. If you have configured MSMP workflow, it is not going to be saved and the user is not going to be mitigated immediately. The request will be created and the request goes to the mitigation approver. And he has to review the request and then he has to take the decision whether to approve or reject the request of mitigation. Now there is no MSMP workflow configured, so I'm going to just save. Now this user is successfully mitigated. Test user is successfully mitigated. You can also create mitigation control ID from this screen as well. Understood? Okay. Okay. I don't create now. We have already created one mitigation control ID. So we have successfully mitigated this user. Close this. Okay. This is the mitigation control ID we created and we mitigated this test user. And we have one mitigation monitor who is responsible to monitor all the activities performed by these mitigated users. Why he needs to monitor these mitigated user activities? Mitigating is what? We are allowing the risk to the user, so we are not sure what he is going to do with that, with those authorizations, right? He may misutilize those authorizations, so there must be a monitor who should monitor all the activities of that mitigated user. Understood? Okay? Okay. Now, let's perform risk analysis for this user. Okay? Test user. I'm closing the screen. Close this. Okay. Now, I'm going to perform risk analysis. We are in Acess Management Work Center. Risk analysis at user level. Okay? Select the system. Okay. Now, for which user you want to perform risk analysis? That is test user. No user group, no custom group, risk level all, and then rule set. I am going to select demo rule set. Select technical view. Okay. Now, action level and permission level. We are going to perform risk analysis at action level and permission level for this test user. Running foreground. No risk for this user now. Got it. Is he mitigated successfully or not? Is he mitigated? John, Munir, Raghu, Saif, Rizwan. Yes, he is mitigated successfully. When we perform risk analysis before we mitigated this user, we had a risk. Now there is no risk for this test user, though this user has SU01 and PFCG authorizations. Clear about this? Any doubts here? Any doubts? Is everything clear? If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, so we have successfully mitigated this user. There is no risk for this user. Okay, okay. So now the user is successfully mitigated. When I perform risk analysis, I don't find any risk for this user. But how should I know that this user has a risk and he is mitigated? To select this option, include mitigated risk. So now it will show you the mitigated risk. Running in foreground, yes. This user actually has a risk, but this user is mitigated for this risk. Test user has a risk, that is BAS risk, okay, and the risk level is high, and this user has a risk in this source system due to the combination of SU0 and PFCG, and the mitigation control ID assigned to this user is control for basis. And for this mitigation control ID, there is one monitor, that is mitigation monitor. Got it? Clear about this? Any doubts here? So this way you can find detailed report whether user actually does not have risk or he is mitigated. Okay, user has a risk, but this user is mitigated by these control IDs. Okay, you can also mitigate a user from the screen as well. It is already mitigated, but you can also mitigate from here. Okay, assign mitigation controls. If you have any mitigation control for this risk, yes, there must be one mitigation control for this risk, that is, this is the risk ID. So access risk, rule ID, control. So here we should get that control. We should have that. So we need to type the control ID here, so that from here we can select the user ID. Anyhow, it is already mitigated. Okay, the user is already mitigated, but you can also mitigate from the screen as well. So is everything clear? No confusion? Okay. Now let's see how we can mitigate roles. So we have successfully mitigated this user. Okay. And now let's go to Access Management Work Center. Now I'm going to perform risk analysis at role level. We have one role which has a risk, that is Z role 1. Okay. Z role 1 has a risk. I don't define any business process, and I want to find all risk levels: action level, permission level. Now, this role has a risk, that is BAS risk. Let's mitigate this user. Access management, go to the mitigated roles, assign, okay, for which access risk you want to mitigate. BAS risk, okay, select this. Then we have one control ID for this risk, that is control for basis, and mitigation monitor and upload will be automatically selected. By default it is in all source systems, and now you need to select the role for which you want to mitigate. Okay. Zero 1. I want to mitigate 0 1. I can also mitigate real number of roles at a time. Okay. Okay. So now what we are doing, we are mitigating 0 1 user which has BAS risk, and we are mitigating this role to this BAS risk, whether this role has BAS risk or not, but now it is going to be mitigated with this risk. So if this user does not have, and in future if this role gets this basis risk, it will be automatically mitigated. And the validity is by default 1 year. You can also change this 1 year validity in access control parameters. Now save this. The role is successfully mitigated. That is role 1. Okay, let's close this, and now we'll perform risk analysis at role level. This is the report we have. Okay, and now I'm going to perform risk analysis for this role again, and we'll see what happens. Run in foreground, so we don't have any risk because this role is successfully mitigated. Okay, but I want to find whether this role really does not have any risk or the role has any mitigation ID. Select this include mitigated risk and then perform risk analysis. Yes, this role actually has a risk, that is BAS risk, and the risk level is high, and this risk for this role exists in the source system, and these are the two config transaction codes by which this role is getting this risk, and this role has one mitigation control ID, and by this control ID this role is mitigated, and this control ID has one monitor, that is mitigation monitor. Got it? Is it clear now? I have a question for you now. What we did, we mitigated user which has this BAS risk and Z role 1. Okay, and then we mitigated, after we mitigated that user, we perform risk analysis for this role, and then we got the risk. For example, what I do, okay, first I mitigate this role. Now this user has a risk, this role also has a risk. So we mitigated this user first, then we mitigate this role first. But I want to mitigate this role first, okay, then I would perform risk analysis for this test user. Does this user get risk? It's question for you, can you please answer? Have you understood my question? What we did here now, we perform risk analysis for this user, and this user had a risk, and that is BAS risk, and that risk, the source for the risk was this role, and then we mitigated this user, and then we came back to this role, and we also performed risk analysis for this role, and we had a risk for this role, then we mitigated this risk role, right? Now if I directly mitigate this role, does this user get a risk?
No.
That's my question. Why? Why the user won't get risk? Why user won't get risk?
Risk is already mitigated, right?
Yes, exactly. That's a good one. Okay, it's a good answer. I'll explain that concept now. Okay. So now, the root of the risk is, this is what? User. Okay. This is user. Users are user. Okay. And then this is what? Role and then we have profile. We also have the profile concept, right? We can also mitigate the profile. Profile. And the root of the risk is profile. If you mitigate profile first, okay, so let's assume this role is assigned to 100 users. Understood? This role is assigned to 100 users and all the 100 users have risk. Okay? When we perform risk analysis for all these 100 users, we have a risk for these 100 users. Okay? And the root of the risk for this all 100 users is this role. Okay? Okay. And the root of the authorization for the role is profile, right? Do you agree? If you know security well, okay, the root of the authorization or the transaction codes is what? Profile. Profile provides the transaction codes and the authorization objects to the role. So, if I mitigate one user, only one user will be mitigated. If I mitigate profile first, then if I perform risk analysis on this role, then you won't find any risk for this role because the root of the risk is already mitigated at bottom level, right? So if I mitigate profile first, you won't get risk for this role, and you will also not get risk for all these 100 users. Got it? Understood? Okay? Clear about all these, or shall I show you this in the system? Okay, is everything clear here? No confusion? So I mitigated this role. I can also mitigate profile directly. Let's go to system. Now let's see. Let's perform risk analysis at profile level and we'll see what happens. Okay. So access management, and now I'm going to perform risk analysis at profile level. What is the profile? Oh, this is the profile I copied from this role. Okay, this is the role which I mitigated, but I did not mitigate profile. So I have selected this profile now, and we'll see what happens. I need to select the system first. Now, is this profile? This profile is of this role. Okay. Okay. I'm not selecting any business process. I'm not sure which risk I'll get, so I remove that field, and now I'm selecting all. Let's see whether this profile gets risk or not. Yes, profile has a risk. Got it. Though we mitigated this role, still profile has a risk. Understood? But generally we don't assign profile to the users directly, right? When we assign role, along with the role, profile will also be assigned, but we generally don't assign profile directly to the user. Okay, so no need to mitigate profile, but if you mitigate profile, automatically role and users will be mitigated. Got it clear? Any doubts here? This is all about mitigation process. So we have seen mitigation approver, mitigation monitor. So whatever the activity now this user performs, that will be notified to the mitigation monitor. Okay, that is the purpose of the mitigation monitor. And the purpose of the mitigation approver is what we have done when we mitigated a user. We just click on the button called save. so it will be automatically mitigated. But when you configure MSMP workflow, you will not get that save button, you will get submit button. Understood? So the request will be submitted to the approver, and approver needs to approve that request. Got it? And then you can also ask me what is the purpose of mitigation control owner. As we have seen, one user, one role, mitigation owner. Okay. Let's go to the roles, because we have three roles. We know the purpose of the two roles, that is mitigation approver and mitigation monitor. Now I'll explain the purpose of this third role, that is mitigation owner. Approver means whenever we are assigning, whenever we are mitigating user or role or profile, the request will be submitted to the approver. Monitor, we know that. It means whenever the mitigated users or roles perform any activity or used anywhere, it will be notified to the monitor. And the purpose of the owner is when you are creating a mitigation control ID. Okay, let's go to setup work center. Here we have mitigation control. Okay, let's create one. It is already open in another session. Let me close that. Okay, this is what. Okay, let me close this. Okay, this is what controls. Let's close this. Okay, I'll explain the purpose of this mitigation control owner. Mitigation control owner, create. I'm creating one mitigation control ID and I have a save button here. But when you configure MSMP workflow, this mitigation control ID will not be created. I'm not talking about assignment of mitigation control ID. I'm talking about creation of mitigation control ID. So if I configure MSMP workflow for this mitigation control maintenance, you will get submit button and it will be notified to this mitigation. It will be notified to this mitigation control owner. Then owner needs to approve this content of the mitigation control ID, which we are going to create here. Got it? Have you understood the purpose of three roles of mitigation control ID? Is it clear? I'll also show you that button now. Let's go to GRC system, 140 system. Okay, let's configure one MSMP workflow, because I haven't configured. There are a number of configurations needs to be done for MSMP workflow. I'll just show you submit button, how you get the submit button. Okay, SPRO, SAP reference IMG, GRC, access control, maintain configuration settings. New entries, parameter group, workflow. Okay, workflow, parameter ID, mitigation assignment, mitigation control maintenance. Okay, so let's select mitigation control maintenance. Parameter value, workflow. Do you want to maintain workflow for mitigation control maintenance? Yes. 1061 is the parameter for mitigation control maintenance. Select yes. Okay. Let's see what values we have. If we don't have value, we need to type yes. Yes. Okay. Save this. It will ask you to create a TR. Continue with the existing TR. Now workflow is defined for the mitigation control maintenance. Now whenever you create a mitigation control ID, you will not get a save option, you will get submit option. Okay, let's go to, still we have save option here. Okay, I'll close this and then come back here and we'll show you what happens. Setup, mitigation controls. Okay, it is already open in another session. That means where it is. Okay, it is open here. Let's close this. Go to setup, mitigation controls. Okay, create. We should get submit button. Now still we have save button. The reason is I need to close all these and I need to come back. Let's do that. Okay, yes, it is there. Create. So it is disabled. Save is disabled now. For example, I am creating a test control. Okay, test control organization unit ABC. Okay, then access risk. Let's select one of the access risk. You can select any access risk, but you cannot save this now. Understood? I am creating control ID for this access risk. This is the control ID and this is the access risk. I cannot save now. I need to submit. Once I submit, the request goes to the mitigation control owners. The same way you can enable workflow for mitigation control assignment, and the parameter for mitigation control assignment is 1062. It should be 1062. Let's see that. Workflow 1062 mitigation assignment. We maintain workflow mitigation control maintenance. You can also maintain workflow for mitigation control assignment, and you can also maintain workflow for risk maintenance. Okay. Anyhow, that we'll discuss. We have a separate session for MSMP workflow. So we'll discuss about MSMP workflow for 3 to 5 hours. Okay. So let me remove this. Now I'm going to change it to no. Once I change it to no, then you will not get this submit button. Okay, let's close this, leave this, and then we'll see this again. Create. You don't have submit button. That is what MSMP works with. Okay, so this is what all about mitigation process. Okay, this is mitigation process, and the next one is remediation process. We need to discuss about remediation process. Okay. The last concept of ARA component. We are about to finish ARA component. I will discuss about this remediation process. We have few more concepts. Sorry, I just forgot that. I will discuss about how to create, how to define critical action, how to define critical role and critical profile. Then we'll discuss about remediation process, and then we'll also perform simulation. Understood? Okay. Anyhow, I will complete this ARA component in the next Saturday, and then we'll start our EAM component on Sunday. Okay. So shall I stop it here now for today? Any doubts? John, Lavanya, Munir, Raghu, Saif. Yes, Lavanya.
On the NW basis screen.
Yes, we have few issues with this NWBC screen. Okay, so keep one screen open. Okay, actually I need to troubleshoot. If you can do it, that would be really great. Okay, what error we are getting, I'll show you that now. Yes, please go ahead. What's your question?
On the NWBC screen, show me once.
Yeah, sure. This is NWBC.
Yeah. In the ARA, so what's the purpose of this user level invalid mitigation? Do we use that?
Yes, we'll also discuss about in the next session. Okay, invalid mitigation. So we'll perform risk analysis for invalid mitigations. I'll explain about this. Okay, this is the new functionality in GRC 10.1. Okay. Okay. Okay, and the issue we are facing for this NWBC is actually we need to update the support packs, but if you could troubleshoot this issue, that would be really great. I need to take time to troubleshoot this. What issue we are getting? So we perform risk analysis, and if I perform any other function, I'm getting this error. Okay, I'm getting this error. So the solution, the temporary solution for this is, okay, the temporary solution for this is, for your practice, let one session, one screen be open. Okay, after that you can switch to any function. You won't get that error. Okay, it's not a permanent solution, but for your practicals, better you do this. Understood? If I close this, I'll get the same error. I cannot go to some other functions. Got it? So better you keep one screen open and then you can switch from one activity to another activity. Okay. So any doubts? Any other doubts? No doubts?
Hello.
Yes.
Do we need to set up this mitigation in every system, development, quality, and production?
Mitigation. You need to test it. You need to test it before you do it in the production system. Okay. Okay. Hi Rizwan. So this is your first session, right? You missed few sessions and you can get the last weekend session from Muni. Okay. And if you have any doubts, you can call me. Sorry, I was not available when you called up. Okay. And our regular timings for this batch is 9:30 a.m. IST on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
9:30 a.m. IST.
Hello? Hello?
I'm in 140 client. You can create a client from any client. Simple process. Create a client, SCC4. Okay. Now I'm going to create a client. Now I'm in display mode. Click on change. Okay. Now I'm creating a new client 027. Okay. Provide a description for this client. Development. Okay. City. But don't change the configuration of this 140. Understood? We are using this for our sessions. If we have any configuration issue, again I need to troubleshoot. It may take 1 or 2 hours. Okay. Logical system is not required. STD currency, INR. Okay, you can please record this session. Okay, please record this session. Okay, STD currency, INR. You can provide any role, but don't provide production role. If you provide production role, you cannot make any changes. Okay, I'm selecting task customizing, save. The client is successfully created now. It is 027. Okay, the client is successfully created. The same way you create 2 clients. After you create 2 clients, okay, from any client. Now log into that client by using SAP star and password pass. What client I created? 027. Okay, SAP star password pass. Okay, now you need to perform a client copy. That's it. SCCL. Okay, so this is the target client where we log in now. Select the profile. Always select SAP_cust profile so that it will provide all the required data for your client. Required standard configuration, standard tables, and standard data you will get by this SAP_cust. And source client, you can use either 000 or 001. Understood? And one client cannot be a source client for multiple clients. Understood? So for example, if you are performing client copy for 2 clients, first select 000, then for another client select 001. Anyhow, you can select either of the clients. I'm selecting 000. Schedule as background job. Okay. Immediately schedule. Continue. That's it. The client copy is started now, and you can find the client copy log in SCC3 transaction code. It takes some time. Okay. Execute SCC3 transaction code. Double click on it here. and now it has copied 25 tables out of 15,005 tables. Refresh, now it copied 120 tables. Once you get the status completed, go back, create an administrator user by assigning SAP underscore all, log off with SAP star by which you log in now, okay. Create your own user ID by assigning SAP underscore all, then perform remote client copy activities, whatever we have done in our first session, which I have shown you in session. And this is the only thing which I did not show you in our last session. Now you can do it. Refresh. Got it now, how to create and how to perform client copy.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No confusions. Hope you all have recorded this client copy. Okay. Okay then, so thank you very much and see you in the next weekend, that is Saturday and Sunday. If you have any doubts during this week, you can contact me on my mobile or you can also send me an email. Thanks.
Shahid,
Bye-bye. Yes, please.
a small question. See, while copying the client, we are selecting profile name as SAP underscore test. Right? It's
Yes.
prompting us to copy it from
Yes.
SAP underscore test. Or choose
Yes.
something else like SAP underscore or what happens? Like why should we choose SAP underscore test?
That's right. It's a good question. I'll show you that now about all the profiles. So these are the profiles we have, and I have explained the purpose of these profiles in client copy administration session, which is of around 2 hours session. Okay. SAP underscore all means you will get all the data from the source client, whatever the data you have. Customizing data, you will also get standard data, you will also get configuration. It means you will get everything by selecting SAP underscore all. And by selecting SAP underscore user, you will get only users and their roles. By selecting SAP underscore cust, what exactly going to be copying is, it is going to copy all the standard configurations, standard tables and standard data by which a client can run. Understood? That's what we use SAP underscore cust for a client for which we are going to start everything from scratch. Got it? But still, I do one thing. I'll send you client copy videos. Okay. I'll send you client copy videos now. Okay, these are the 2 videos you need to watch to understand what exactly a client, how to perform a client copy, what is a profile, what is SAP underscore all. Anyhow, I have explained about SAP underscore all, SAP underscore cust and SAP underscore user. And if you want to know about rest of the profiles, what these 2 sessions, you have everything in these 2 videos. Please let me know your user ID so that I can share with you. So, this is your idea of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So rest of the guys have these videos. Okay. Hope rest of the guys
Yes,
have
sir.
these videos. So I'm sharing it to 3 participants. Client administration. Okay. Please watch this so that you can understand the purpose of the client. Though you are a security guy, but you should know about client copying, you should also know about background job, you should also know about profile parameters. Okay. Don't depend only on SU0 and PFCG, though you are in security. Learn some other concepts as well. Okay, then, so thank you very much and see you next weekend.